You know, this is the weirdest looking dragon fruit looking plant I've ever seen. I've never seen them with leaves this big. This arrived in my mailbox. Yes, it did. Oh, by the way, welcome to the Voodoo Garden. My name is Ray. I am the host of this nonsense I lovingly call the Voodoo Garden. This arrived in my mailbox, in a box. It wasn't just laying in my mailbox. It was in a box, wrapped up, insulated, and it came with a letter. But I didn't read the letter right away because the fool that I am. Whenever I get a package in the mail, my instinct, my first reflex is to just rip the box open and see what's inside. And then I read the letter. So I pulled this thing out of there and I thought, what is it? I don't know what this is, but it's in a little plastic bag. Then I read the letter and I got the name and then I Googled it. This is called Queen of the Night. Queen of the Night, from my understanding, which of course is this much, it's as much as Google gave me in the first few minutes, this is very closely related to the dragon fruit plant that I grew here. Remember that dragon fruit? It was this long, spindly looking thing that grew up in the upper right hand corner over there. And it had little thorns on it, little tiny needles on it. Well, I grew that for a while and it didn't do anything. It just grew more dragon fruit plant. I never actually got a flower or dragon fruit from it. Well, this one, I believe, may flower easier than the other one. Now, I'm going to show it to you up close so that you can see what it looks like when I first got it, okay? This is what it looks like. It's in the little baggie, and I'm sure that it'll root easily because dragon fruit roots very easily. This part right here, you can see that it has the little rib, and that is what resembles the dragon fruit plant. Now on the back side, I can see, I didn't look at this when I first got it, where the little thorns were, the little needles. That's kind of what clues me as to what that it's a dragon fruit. Now what got me was my dragon fruit didn't come with leaves like this. So this is a little bit different from mine. And so I'm going to plant this today. I wanted to show it to you before I plant it so that you can see what it looked like when I got it. So someday when it's taking over the whole darn voodoo garden, you can go, yes, I remember. It was a tiny plant at one time. Now, if it will have good smelling flowers, I guess we're just going to have to find out. For right now, I'm just happy that I'm going to be growing that. And this episode, I wanted to have some kind of a flowering theme to it, you know, a springtime thing. So I brought out all the things, because all this stuff is happening all at once. Yeah, I have this plant right here, this vine that is kind of hidden by my little palm tree, which I'll get to in just a second. This plant right here is my pumpkin. Yeah, remember I planted that pumpkin seed, and it came out of the pumpkin, I think it was on Halloween. And it grew into a vine. It was going all over there. And then one day, I mean, it was flowering too. It was putting out male flowers, big yellow flowers. And then it finally put out a female flower. Now, the difference between a male and a female pumpkin flower, for those of you who don't know, and for those of you who do know, I'm going to tell you. A male flower has this long, thin stem, kind of like my little spaghetti arms. And then there's a flower on the end of it. That's a male flower. Now, a female flower is going to have the same kind of flower, but at the base of the flower is going to be this round ball. That is a female flower, okay? And that's the fruit at the bottom of the flower. If she doesn't get pollinated, that fruit will turn yellow and die, and she'll try again some other time. Now, what I had to do was I took this male, and by the way, they both flowered at the same time. I had a male flower and a female flower, and that's kind of rare for me because I was having male flowers all over the place, and finally I had a male flower and a female flower at the same time. So what I did was I snipped the male flower off, pulled off his petals like the butcher I am, and I took the male parts of it and I pollinated the female flower. Yes, it was a little loving down by the fire there, and I was rubbing the pollen all over the female. I thought I did a pretty good job, but nature decides when it's time to have a baby. And although I did pollinate the female flower profusely, the pollen didn't take. And the flower turned out like this. And yeah, it's kind of sad. And in the spirit of sadness, I'm giving you a close-up shot. This was a green ball about the size of a marble, and she had a big flower, but yeah, see, since it didn't pollinate, it dried up. Yeah, it shriveled up, and this is a little dead, not quite so pumpkin. That's really kind of sad. But, you know, that happens sometimes. You never really know when these things are going to get pollinated, when they're not going to get pollinated. It all just depends on the condition. Now, this plant might have been a little bit weak because it's growing indoors and it's not getting full sun. So the flower just may not have been strong enough. So, in the spirit of ashes to ashes, dust to dust, I crumble up this flour and I release it back to the soil. And I just checked my soil recently. I still have a lot of those mites in there. Remember I mentioned a long time ago, hypoaspis mites. And those are the little itty bitty white mites you might see growing in your soil if you have a magnifying glass and you look really, really close. They look like these little round mites with little legs coming out. Those, if you see those in your soil, that's a good thing. They eat the larvae, the little babies of fungus gnats. So I don't have any fungus gnats in here, and I'm very, very lucky that I have those mites going on in here. So anyway, I got that going on, and I'm going to take this plant out of here, this pumpkin plant, because I grew it from a seed of a pumpkin that I grew outside. Remember that pumpkin I grew outside on the Praxis 5572 channel? Well, I took a seed from the pumpkin that I grew, and I opened up the pumpkin here, and it was growing inside the pumpkin itself. The seed was. I planted it here. It did okay, but it really never was a robust plant. So what I'm going to do, since I'm kind of cramped for space here, I'm going to get rid of this pumpkin plant. I know you don't want to see it go, but I have something to take its place. And I just keep getting up and down like a jack-in-the-box here, but I got to show you something. The good host that I am, you don't have to move a muscle. I'm bringing everything to you. It's in this huge pot. Look at this. Now that is a pumpkin seedling. Yes, this is grown from a seed given to me by a friend on Facebook. And he grew those 800 and something pound pumpkin. And that's where this came from. I got to put it down because it's heavy and I'm not strong. But I wanted to show you that. And hold on a second, I'm kind of off camera over here. I'm just freaking out, grabbing everything I possibly can. I got my little lettuce. But anyway, that is going to be a stronger, healthier pumpkin plant than my little micro wimpy pumpkin plant. So this one's going to go out. I'm going to feed it to the chickens. They'll probably munch down on it, or the goats will. I'll recycle the soil, and then I'll put that seedling over here and let it grow all over the Voodoo Garden. I got a feeling it's going to do really well. Now, that is just for fun. Later on this spring, and I love it, it's January's here, that means spring's on the way. Anyway, in the spring, I'm going to take, he sent me about 6 seeds, and they're huge seeds. I'm going to take one of those seeds and plant it outside and try to grow a monster pumpkin outside. So this one's just for fun in here. And then, I don't know if I mentioned this one or not, this is my head of lettuce. Yeah, from the seeds that I was sending out to everybody on the seed giveaway. This is an actual head of lettuce that I have here in the Voodoo Garden, and lately I've just been shoving it in my mouth. That's good. It's sweet. Yep, it just tastes like spring. I come down here, and once a day, that's my thing, because it's only one head of lettuce, okay? So every morning, it's my routine. I come down here after having my coffee and waking up and feeding the goats and the chickens and everything, because everything takes place for the animals first. First, I let the dogs out, run them outside, feed the chickens, feed the goats, and then when I'm done with everybody else, then it's my time. So I come down here, nobody bothers me, and I pick off one leaf per day, and I munch my lettuce. So that's my treat to myself. I'm growing my own lettuce in here. So it tastes like spring every day, even though it's below zero, it's blowing snow outside. I got lettuce in here. And another thing that's growing. I'm kind of excited. I really am. Okay. A friend sent me those bulbs. Remember, I was growing those daffodils. They're called paper whites. Paper whites, people... I just inhaled a piece of lettuce. Oh, that wasn't very pleasant at all. Okay, let's try this again. Take 2. Okay, a friend mailed me some bulbs. Remember, I got all those bulbs in, and I showed you in a previous episode way back when. All right, anyway, a few months ago, I planted some bulbs. And there were paper whites, and they were hyacinths and stuff like that. You remember those. Okay, anyway, the paper whites are the same thing as daffodils. Paper whites and daffodils are the same thing. Paper whites are just a different type of daffodil, but they're in the daffodil family. So I just want to let you guys know that. I was calling them daffodils because that's what they are. They're just a type of daffodil. All right, so kind of like butter crunch is a type of lettuce, and so is head lettuce and romaine. That's the same type of thing. Anyway, I planted those bulbs, they flowered, they stunk, but they were beautiful and they were all over the voodoo garden. Well, the flowers finally died off, so I clipped them back, I dug the bulbs out, I put them in my basement to store them until spring, and then I'll plant them outside. Well, the other bulbs that decided to start blooming, here I go again. This is fun. I got, I don't know, about a half a dozen or more of these. These are the hyacinth bulbs, the big purple bulbs. I didn't know what they were. They're hyacinth. Look at it. They're starting to grow. Yes, they are. Eventually, in not very much time at all, I think I'm going to have stalks of hyacinths flowering here in the voodoo garden. And that got me excited too. When I saw the green popping out of these things, I knew it was just a matter of time. So I'm going to have flowers from those. And right here, my palm trees. I call these the palm trees. These are actually not palm trees at all. They're just shaped like palm trees. This is my Coleus. I've been growing this thing for, oh gosh, what, a year or something like that? I don't remember how long ago. You probably remember. Anyway, I grew this from a little plant that I got, and it got really bushy, and I cut it back. It got really bushy, and then I thought, I wonder if I can grow it up. Remember I was talking about that? Well, I did grow it up, and then I cut it back, and then it grew up, then I cut it back, and now it's got these nice little stems here, and it actually looks like a palm tree. You see in the 16-inch pot, at the very base of it, it's starting to get new sprouts. Every time you prune these things back, they really want to bush out. That's the thing about Coleus. It always wants to grow new shoots. And so what I'm thinking about doing is letting these grow and let it start to bush out at the bottom. But here's what I've been doing. See, I've been taking off the leaves as it grows up. So it's got these two stems. This is actually from one plant. It's way at the bottom underneath the soil. It started out as one plant, and then it forked into two stems. So now I have these two stems, and then at the top I have a display of leaves, and look at this. Is that not beautiful or what? A cluster of Coleus flowers. It's a stalk of flowers, another stalk of flowers, and that's on one side of it. And then of course the other side is getting ready to do the exact same thing. It's got little stalks of flowers that are starting to come out from the very, very tip. So this is my Coleus. It's got beautiful leaves. It's got stalks of flowers that are coming out. It's actually beautiful. Now the flowers have really no smell at all. It's not very remarkable, but it is a pretty flower. It's a nice little lavender and white flower coming out of here. Now, while I have you in my hand, yes, I am carrying you around, I wanted to show you something else, and this is the showstopper. This is what I brought you here for today. I'm going to swing right on over, and does anybody know what this plant is down here? Not a very remarkable plant, but I've mentioned it before. This is a butterfly bush that I grew from seed that one of you sent me. You sent me a butterfly bush seed. Somebody else also sent me butterfly bush plants. Now this is the one that I grew from seed, and it grew up in a little tiny cup, and then I pruned it back, transplanted it, and you can see at the very top over here where it stopped growing, and it bushed out 4 of these branches. Now of course when the branches came out, I cut them back right about here, and it bushed out into 3 or 4 more. And that's what it did all over the place. Exponentially, I'm getting more and more branches, but here's what happened in the last week. Is that something or what? This got me so excited. They're starting to put out clusters of flowers. They put out these little green clusters of flowers, and then actually here's what it looks like when it first starts. Actually, let me go over here. Yeah, I'm kind of in a rush, but I'm just wanting to show you this. This is what it looks like, a little cluster of flowers, not very remarkable, and then it comes out like kind of like a lilac, and then at the base of them, the flowers start opening up. And then I'll go right over here to the best looking one, and they're all over on all the ends. How beautiful is that? That's crazy. And the smell is beautiful. It's a light, fragrant smell, not overwhelming at all, but it's the most spring-like smell of lilacs, mild lilacs that you could possibly imagine. And this room is just filling with this gentle, aromatic fragrance. And it's just, that's what's getting me so happy. It smells like spring in here. It smells like spring flowers. And that's what this butterfly bush is doing for me. This one is bound to go outside eventually. But for right now, it's giving me a whole lot of joy here in the voodoo garden in the coldest part of winter. I have flowers. Oh, I just can't, I cannot describe the feeling that I have in this room in the last week. It has been, I went through a bit of a rough period about a week ago. We had some issues here on the VoodooGarden channel and the Praxis 5572 channel. We had a bit of some negativity, and there was a problem, and a couple programs of mine I removed because I didn't want to have to deal with that kind of problem. I won't go into that because I don't like to delve on negativity, but there were some people that were just trying to make my life a little bit less happy than I chose to be. So I decided, you know what, step away from it. And I did. I stepped away from the YouTube channels for a while and kind of isolated myself. But with all of this happening, it just brought me out of my shell again. And I'm down here with the oxygen. I'm down here with these flowers. And I got to say, I know some people don't much care for butterfly bushes. I am a fan. I'm a huge fan. And I would love to continue growing this in the Voodoo Garden. And I may just do that. I may keep one of these in the Voodoo Garden and then take one out and grow it out in the yard, because the smell alone is enough to make it worth growing. That's what I wanted to bring you here for today. Just something to make you smile, something to remind you that spring is on the way. And there's one last thing I want to bring up. And it's because people were asking me questions. And I don't ignore your questions. It's just that I don't always have the time to answer all the questions. So, without further ado, I'm reaching up into the ceiling and I'm bringing something down. I'm bringing down some props, folks. And I wanted to show you this. Many people ask me continuously what type of lighting I use in the Voodoo Garden to get the results that I do, because I have no windows in this room. It's 100% pitch black. You turn off the lights, you can't see a thing in here. And so everything you see here has never seen daylight. It's all grown under 100% artificial light. The light that I use is a compact fluorescent. And compact fluorescents are not ideal. At one time they were state-of-the-art and they were a wonderful thing. They saved you a lot of energy from using regular incandescent bulbs, which are the standard bulbs that Mom and Dad and Grandpa and Grandma used to use. Well, these were the new thing back in the early 90s. And they got better and better and more efficient, and then they got brighter after that. In the late 1990s, early 2000s, they got really, really bright. Well, the one that I use in here, this one is a 500 watt equivalent, which is, I believe, around 8,000, between 7,000 and 8,000 lumens. Lumens, and everybody always gets into this big argument over how you measure the light from these things. But I'm just going to say, for me, it goes by lumens, okay? This is a 500 watt equivalent. That means it's the equivalent of 5 100 watt bulbs, or a 500 watt incandescent bulb. And the lumens are about 7 to 8,000. And that's a good amount of lumens. If you look on a regular household bulb, it only has like maybe 800 lumens or something. So this is about 10 times the brightness. And one of these bulbs at ceiling level will cover around maybe 3 to 4 square feet, like this, of growing space. Now, the closer you have it to the plant, the more intense the light's going to be, but the smaller the growing space is going to be. So you kind of got to figure that one out. Now, they are a good standard right now because they are inexpensive and they put out the most lumens per dollar spent purchasing the bulb. I've done all the math on that, and that's what I found out. Now, that being said, this bulb is an LED bulb. This is not a fluorescent bulb. This has a long strip of LED diodes in it. You know what an LED bulb is. That's the next step from compact fluorescent. The new ones are LEDs. They use a less power. They are just almost as bright, not quite bright enough, because I priced them out. For a bulb that bright, that screws into the ceiling, you would have to get, I'm going to show you a picture because I didn't actually buy the bulb. Check out this picture. Okay, now the picture that you're looking at, it has an LED bulb that you screw into the ceiling, and then it has all of those rows. You see all those little rows of yellow dots? Those are the light emitting diodes. LED, and it has a whole bunch of those, and it puts out around 7 to 8,000 lumens of power. It's a 500 watt equivalent bulb. That is the exact same thing as the compact fluorescent I was holding. Now, all right, now that you've seen that picture, you notice on that picture the bulb, it looked like a kind of like this bulb, only the very end of the bulb had a cover plate on it, which means the light doesn't actually go down from the bulb. And that's something I didn't really much care for, because I don't want my light just to go out to the sides. I like it to be aimed downwards sometime, and that's what my compact fluorescents are able to do. They go out sideways and they also aim down. I could get a spotlight LED, but then again it wouldn't go out as much. So it's apples or oranges. One's good for one thing, one's good for another thing, but none of them are good for all purpose, whereas these are. Also, that bulb costs $68. This bulb costs $23. So there is a difference in price. Eventually LED is going to go down in price and come up in production to where it outstrips the compact fluorescents. And plus, the LED does not have all of this mercury that these have in it. These, you break these and you die from mercury poisoning. So they are dangerous and they're not optimal. So it's not the best thing I could possibly use, but for me right now, I can't afford $68 bulbs in here, and probably you either. So that's the kind of bulb I'm using right now. And if you want to use that kind of bulb, I'll put a link below this video. I don't get anything for it, but I'll tell you exactly where I buy these bulbs, and it's in the link below this video. So if you want to use those bulbs, that's fine. Eventually I'll change over, and if I do change over onto something else, you'll be the second person to know. I'll be the first person to know. Anyway, that's what I use and why I use them. It's the biggest bang for my buck. Now this was my first foray into LED bulbs. This is a tube light like you normally see in fluorescent fixtures, but it isn't fluorescent at all. It has a whole bunch of those little yellow dots, those light emitting diodes all along here, and you just hang this like a shop light. Yeah, you hang it like a shop light, and then you pull the cord, it goes on, off. Yeah, it's very simple, and it was very inexpensive. It only cost me $20-something. And I think the lumens were comparable to that. Yeah, and so I thought, wow, I get more coverage, I get the lumens, and as a shop light, it's perfect. And I had it right over here to light up this whole side where all these little cups were. Problem was, after just maybe a few months of usage, this much of the bulb up here stopped lighting up. One day I noticed it was kind of dim in here. I thought, what's going on over here? And I looked at the thing. I thought, ah, crap. So yeah, the LEDs were burning out. It's just cheap quality, and that's really kind of sad. So this is basically worthless. It was wasted money as far as I'm concerned. My bulbs here last for many, 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 many years, and once I get the good LED bulbs, like the one I showed you in the picture, when the price comes down on those things, I'll probably buy a case of them, because I use about maybe, what was it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 bulbs in this room. 10 bulbs will cover this entire room with light, and I can grow anything I want to grow. So 10 bulbs, but at $68, come on. Now, if you want to do a grow room, it's kind of hard for you too to spend $680 just to light the room up. It's a lot easier to spend a lot less and get these bulbs. So for right now, I'm kind of using these. It's kind of a thing where we have to balance what we can afford with what's the best. And that's the best balance I found out so far. So anyway, that's my little explanation on bulbs. If you have any questions concerning bulbs, please feel free to post it in the comment section below. I'll do my very best to give you the best answer I possibly can. So that is the Voodoo Garden episode today, just showing you a little bit of spring sunshine in the Voodoo Garden and a little bit of an explanation on the lights. Later on, when I get into live streaming, I'll actually open up the questions to where you can just tune in and talk to me live online, and you can ask questions about lights, plants, all kinds of fun stuff. So that's what I'll be doing hopefully in the very near future. I got the camera, I got my computer down here, I'm all set to go. I just have to figure out how to live stream. I'm an old man. That's technology. It scares me. I'm frightened. Anyway, that's all we got for the Voodoo Garden today. I hope you did enjoy it. Tune in next time, and we'll have something fun here as well. I gotta put this away. I gotta figure out how to dispose of this thing. I gotta recycle what can be recycled, throw away what can't be recycled. What a pain in the butt. Anyway, this is Ray and his obsolete light fixture. Until next time, we are out of here. All right. Maybe I could keep the cord. This electrical cord I can cut off and I can use for something else too. And the chain. Yeah, I think I'll do that.